Shalom, shalom. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero with the Ways of Israel. It's a beautiful, sunny Florida here, here directly from Pompano Beach, Florida. And one of the questions that's being asked all around is about Eidut. Eidut is witnesses. Witnesses utilizing webcam and perhaps even the Zoom technology. Obviously, we're living in a very unique time and period, not only in Jewish history, but also in the world itself, where the use of Zoom and other webcam type of media has exploded. And you'll see now that many Orthodox rabbis and Orthodox communities are utilizing these mediums like never before. As a matter of fact, they become more dependent upon them when there is no connection regarding the community. They've used it to be able to advertise, to promote, to share, to give shiurim and other types of teachings. So the big question now becomes is how much and how far will the Orthodox world embrace the idea of Eidut via webcam? Now, obviously, this has not been an issue for the conservative Jewish community, which today utilize that left and right. As a matter of fact, been privy of even conversions done by conservative, which is, you can see everything done properly. But it's not only conversions. Listen very closely, because as a result of the lockdown, the ability to be able to go out and see what's going on has been very much limited. It's being used now, the issues of webcam for Eidut, for issues of kashrut, for issues of even gittin, for issues that usually would require the human eye to be physically present in a time where everything else is now in lockdown. So how can you be Eidut when you're not physically there? And via the medium of camera, webcam, you are there. Like you guys are seeing me now, right now, in my backyard. And yet you can see me and what I'm doing and what I say and do according to the peripherals of the camera. And this is a technology that has opened wide the opportunities for so many different areas in Judaism, but it all depends upon how the rabbis will paskin on this. I have submitted a couple of questions. Now, Rabbi Lehrfield, who I used to ask many of these questions, he told me very clearly there was really no issue that if it could be done for gittin, for divorce, which he was the Dayan here in South Florida, and he says it could be done for issues of gittin, which is divorce. It can also be done for a whole bunch of other areas, including conversions. And I spoke with him about that. The only thing is that he did not want to carry that responsibility upon his shoulder and be attacked by so many other different rabbis who are accustomed to the old ways of doing things, being there physically, being there presently. And there are very little issues regarding the issue of Eidut via webcam or Zoom type of video. You can even be there, you can see each other. As a matter of fact, there's even been heard of minyanim being able to be completed by this means. Now, interesting enough, this is already welcome embraced by the conservative world with no issue. Keep in mind, many conservative conversions are accepted by the state of Israel. So it's not an issue of whether it could be done. It has been done, and it is in play in a lot of different Jewish communities that are non-Orthodox, obviously. Now, the question is on the Orthodox level, they are always very slow to bring about a decision. I have already submitted a couple of questions to some Rav through some of the rabbis that I know to be able to present this halakhically, and some have responded already that basically there's an issue of this point and that point. Having overcome those different issues that they have responded to me, the bottom line is it can be done. And we need to look beyond our own little limitations to be able to achieve great things, even in a time where we are limited and in lockdown. My friends, it's an incredible world that we live in. Now, there are those rabbis who basically are opposed to any form of technology. Then you should not be at all involved in any type of teaching or outreach through this medium. You should not even be involved, Because if you're anti-technology and using the Zoom and website, you should not be at all involved in this. You should be basically just go and stay home and keep in your traditional self, and that way you're not involved. But the fact is, these things were provided in a very miraculous way to be able to help humanity and help us be able to continue our practice in Judaism in every area of Jewish law. That includes the issues of gerut, including the issues of kashrut, including the issues even of gitin, of divorce, of even marriage. I never forgot when I was there with a good friend of mine in Rabbi Shai Amar at the wedding of my good friend. I had my camera out because I wanted to record it. And I was watching with both of my eyes when he put the ring on his future wife's finger, because you had to be an Eidut, you had to be a witness. And so I'm here watching it, and he was disturbed, he was commoved, because I had the camera also videotaping it live. And he was like very, very bothered because of the traditional concept of you have to be there watching with your two eyes. I'm here watching it with my two eyes, and the camera was watching it with its eye. So and that pushed me a little bit. I said, you know what? How far are we going to go to the extreme of taking it the literal sense when the eyes can be understood by multiple manners? I basically succumbed and said, you know what? I'll go ahead and do what he says, and basically push the camera forward and did what he asked me to do, which was to watch it with my two eyes, which I did, in a whole ceremony with a kosher Eid in the ceremony. But it bothered me. It bothered me because with the camera that I'm holding, I was able to focus in closer to make sure it was properly done. As a matter of fact, what I'm saying is the camera's eye was a better witness than my own two eyes that I have glasses on, needing glasses. So that tells you something right there, that many times Hashem gives us the instrument to be able to utilize to better the mitzvah of being the true aid. Now, obviously, in the secular world, the issue of cameras and webcams and Zoom is being used every day as a result of this complete shutdown. People are now communicating and on Zoom, and you still have people opposing it. I understand it's much easier to rely on the old ways. And many times Hashem brings upon the community and forces upon community issues in areas that we need to reform and apply new halakhic issues to old matters. And this is exactly what's going on today in the Jewish world. Thank God that to a certain extent there's been some reprieve to the coronavirus in some areas, and people are able to go back and enjoy life to a certain extent. But the bottom line is that this technology has opened an opportunity for many Orthodox Jews, notice I say Orthodox Jews, Orthodox rabbis, to be able to reach out to areas where it was not possible before. And now, as you see through the mediums of social media, it has been expanded that we can even reach countries and in places that we are not there physically, but we are there by the eye of the camera. Talking about that, this is exactly what the government is trying to do, and that is to supervise and to watch every single person on the face of the planet simultaneously by using the eye of media, the eye of the camera, the eye of facial recognition, which we know it's arising as many that are opposed to that, because to a certain extent it's an invasion of one's privacy, but at the same time it's also an opportunity to be able to reach out to people that perhaps speak face to face, as it were. This is why they call it FaceTime, right? Face to face, to be able to reach out and be able to do things where never before was possible. Now I want you to think about that. Those rabbis that are out there in Israel, now they want to control so much the whole entire conversion, kashrut world. Now with a little camera, the eye of a camera, you can supervise the kashrut levels of every single restaurant, of every single business that's under your hechsher. This is being used now as a monitoring device to be able to witness what's actually taking place in the location that has your supervisory kashrut. So here we need also eyes, Eidut. So if you are watching the business and it has a setup of cameras that can be virtually connected, where rabbis are supervising it 24 hours a day, that eliminates the need of an actual supervisor there. So therefore, to me, what I understand in areas of halakha that has to do with witnesses or to be witness to something, it is still a valid point. So we're going to be looking at this a little bit closer, what it's called Eidut via webcam or Zoom. There is not really many issues except the acceptability of other rabbis embracing the technology. It's like what I call the old Amish world is still living back in the 14th century after the New World brings about a major revolution in technology and accessibility to be able to bring us closer. So I think those rabbis who basically will embrace the technology and the benefits that it provides will be the ones to be able to change the world of Orthodox Judaism in a positive, constructive, and yet within halakhic ways, and not remain back in dividing the Jewish community in the haves and the haves not. Those who basically decide to stay in the old world because they're concerned of the reaction of the rabbis, how they will react. And obviously our world is changing. There are some scary things happening, no doubt about it. And the idea of Big Brother is watching you is now a reality. It's no longer something in a conspiratorial way of thinking. Your government is watching you. And how do they watch you? By the very camera that you bought, the very cell phone that you bought. Your government is supervising and monitoring everything you say, do, and it is recorded. It's not erased. This old video, even though I delete it, it is recorded. It is uploaded on some type of super system where they can be able to take it back, even though I delete it. This is the world that we live in. We have to watch what we say. We have to watch how we walk. We have to watch everything we do, because our actions are being measured in levels that is insurmountable. Even when I go with a rage, I have to check myself in, realizing that everything I say and do is being recorded and can be used against me in the future. It's exactly what I'm speaking about. And this is why sometimes I go, oh boy, I shouldn't have said that. But it happened, and it came from the heart. That's why we have to check our heart with our minds, our brains, as it were. I spoke with one rabbi early this morning, saying to them, you know what, we need to be very careful. We need to be very careful in what we say. Sometimes our opinions are misinterpreted as fact. And I am not perfect in everything I say or do. But one thing I'm very clear, I'm open to criticism and for correction. And this is what I say to other rabbis. And I would challenge the rabbis, especially in Israel, who have seen how lockdown basically bring people to a state of depression. And we need to open our minds up and open our understanding up to Torah so it's applicable daily in our daily walk and our daily actions. As we get closer to the end times, as it were, we need to be open-minded in regards to Torah halakha, that it's always flexible and can be interpreted to multiple different ways. And we need to allow that type of flexibility to be able to live daily within the law, not outside of the law. And one of the things I realized, it was one of the traditions of Rabbi Ovadia Joseph, as far as I've been able to read, it was always trying to be inclusive of the entire Jewish community, not create more barriers to be able to try to jump over, but rather more inclusive. Now, this is what made him such a great Posek HaGadol, that he was trying to bring everybody in and not keep people out. And most of the Sephardic rabbis that I have spoken to are of that mindset. When you get with people who are extremists, which is a big danger, by the way, is when you go to the extreme, then you run into foul mindsets where they basically are locked up in their own 4 cubits of what they call their own shul, which happens to be just a virtual shul that they have. And this is why we need to move on and move forward and move in a way that is within halakha, not outside of what halakha says. And it can be done. And this was one of the issues I brought to another rabbi who's opposed to this idea of the Eidut via webcam. Why is he opposed? Because he doesn't want any of the conversions to be nullified or rejected. But yet, we know not everyone will accept everyone's conversions, especially if it's a halakhic conversion being done. You know, you have a right to be able to reject this rabbi's conversion or that rabbi's conversion. And even someone comes to me and is accepted by the Rabbanut, if I have a community, I could reject that person's conversion as well. If I find something that's lacking, obviously I won't do that. But obviously this is the freedom that the local rabbis have to be able to accept or reject other Beit Din's conversions or even possibly. That's why you have so many hashkachas out there. You know, we have so many different labels of kashrut, different standards of kashrut. And this is why we need to reel in and realize one thing, especially now that we are still in the month of Elul, and we realize that Hashem is in the field. And let me say this, for those that are in Israel, that could perhaps understand the implications. The field is being burned by fire. Think about this, for example. The field is being burned by fire. Hashem is a consuming fire. Hashem is in the field. Who has consumed the fire? Who has initiated the fire? If it's not Hashem. In California, we're seeing that very clear. Without anyone striking a match, the fires of California were struck by dry lightning. And hundreds of thousands of forest is burning without any control. Not only in California, in Washington, in Oregon. I mean, if you make a suggestion that perhaps all of these fires that are on fire is somehow correlated to the political or philosophical outlook of those inhabitants. It's sad to say that, but you can make that correlation and say, you know what, there's something there. So I wish everyone a wonderful week, and just said what I just suggested. Eidut by via webcam. Shalom, shalom.